Okay, Flagler Weekly. We are back. This is episode 22, and I am here with my partner Dave,
Yep.
and we're very appreciative to have Mr. Alan Lowe in the building. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Thanks. It's great
Thank
to be
you.
here.
Thank you so much for coming through.
Yep.
We appreciate you. Dave, he's the one who first, introduced me to you. And, he would talk about a couple of things that came through and, just,
Yeah. Well, as your shirt says, you're a member of the Loudmouth Minority Club, semi-controversial Flagler resident of 40 years.
40
Yeah.
years, this past March.
Yeah. And you got a lot to say about what's going on. I find it interesting. You're very against popular narrative. So people say a lot of stuff about you to shut you up. All you got to do is say someone's crazy, and then everything they say is invalid, which I don't agree with. So that's, one of the reasons we wanted to have you on here too, so we can hear what you say.
Sure, I appreciate it.
Like I've seen your post, hear what you say. Don't seem crazy to me.
I don't know about that.
Well, I don't like when narrative reigns supreme. It has to be some voices against it, and it land in the middle somewhere. So you're that guy for Flagler County.
Thanks.
So that's cool, yeah. So you said you've been in Flagler for 40 years now.
I moved in 1983.
All right, 83. I was born in 80, so it's a while. And now your family's been here before. You said your dad was a builder here.
My dad had moved. We were from Maine. My dad moved down in 80, or late 79 actually, and my mom hung around up there till I graduated high school, and the day after was see you later. And I had the option of moving down here, but I loved Maine. Maine was beautiful. I didn't want to move down here. It was just some kind of hot swamp.
Yeah.
However, a few years later, in March, we had an ice storm. And my dad said he needed help on something. He said, why don't you come down here and give me a hand? So, it's, God knows, it's 32 degrees, raining, sleeting, ice everywhere. I come down here, I'm wearing shorts and going fishing.
Maybe
Okay. Yeah,
maybe this
see?
is the spot.
A few weeks later, I was here.
Been here since.
Yep.
I also I saw that you're a master diver
Instructor.
instructor. Okay, and you do that currently, or is that just something you did before?
I used to own a scuba shop in Palm Coast, and I did it pretty heavily then. I will one-off do instruction now. I keep the certificate active, but it's more of a recreational thing for me now.
Okay, and now you just you have it listed on your Facebook that you're just like a private contractor,
Yeah,
doing small jobs and whatnot.
Yeah, I do bathroom remodels and bathtub resurfacing, and countertops and things where I don't have to kill myself anymore. Did that for years.
Yeah, that's what we do a lot of too. I have a main job, but we like to do a lot of small little things. You don't got to get too
Handyman work.
involved with, but
Yeah.
come in and get out, get the job done,
That's what I like.
make a little money. Yeah.
So, being in Flagler County, I believe a lot of people know you for, running for office in Flagler County. But this is my question because I'm interested in possibly one day running.
Cool.
Do you feel like, what do you think the process is? Is it expensive?
Oh, well, yes. It's money driven.
What are some of the things that I have to do? I should expect.
Well, whatever you have in your background, expect it to become public. And if you don't have anything in your background, expect them to make it up.
Okay.
Their motto is, if you're defending, you're losing. So they put you on the defense all the time.
Do you think you could just ignore it?
I did. Well, I've run basically 3 times now: special election and 2 real elections. And the first time around, when I ran against Mayor Holland, I tried my best to just ignore it and move forward with platform and what policies I wanted to have forward and so forth. Mayor Holland was quoted once as saying that politics is a blood sport. And so, but I tried to do it just, hey, this is what I stand for. This is what I'd like to see move forward. But everybody started, the rumors and the baloney and everything started becoming a tidal wave, and it became almost impossible to ignore. So you can't ignore it. I'd like to ignore it, but you can't ignore it.
It's like narrative control. Whoever's like the loudest.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's yeah, exactly.
What do you think is one of the biggest changes you've seen in Flagler County through your time being here?
I think it's the same one everybody sees, and it's the accelerated amount of development. Cut everything down and put up houses. And I'm not opposed to development,
Yeah.
but we got to do. And I say often we need quality over quantity. But when I say quality, I'm not talking about we need fancy houses with high end stuff in it. Quality that I'm talking about is we need to maintain the quality of life that people moved here for. At the same time, realize and accept people's property rights and have development, but find that balance instead of just all one-sided, which seems to be right now.
Right. I feel like people, because we all want Palm Coast to grow and flourish, but then there's a lot of halt on some things. And, okay, basically like say the Margaritaville situation that's come in. How do you feel about that? Because it's like, while we do need it, I feel like a lot of people are going to look at it as kind of like an eyesore. I don't know.
Well, here's the issue that I see. If you drive down Palm Harbor Parkway in Palm Coast towards the development known as the Tidelands, all across the front of it, they maintained the trees. You cannot see the development behind it. So you still get the old Palm Coast feel as you're driving down the road. I think that should be maintained through all the new developments. You don't come in and cut every tree, every bush, every blade of grass and rip it down to dirt and then leave it that way as you build houses up. I think you should leave a buffer. If you do that, then whatever you're building behind it can become more acceptable to people because you're not just looking at the eyesores that are being built.
That's true. Yeah. Do you think that we're going to become like a Daytona or?
That's the quality over quantity.
Okay,
So
I hear you on that.
Right now they're in Palm Coast, and my whole thing is really, it's Flagler County, but I'm Palm Coast oriented.
Right.
Route 1 between Matanzas Parkway at the north end and down around Royal Palms at the south end, west to almost Espanola, 27,000 acres, I believe it is,
Yes.
is about to be annexed into Palm Coast. And we have huge, if they're going to do it. They just got a $50-some-odd million grant from the state in order to begin the infrastructure.
For
even though
West Palm Coast.
it's called the Westward Expansion, and it's
Wow, that sounds a little creepy.
yeah, well, it's the
Manifest Destiny.
Yeah, it's the current mayor's intended legacy. But we have room to build or expand on the Hargrove Industrial Park so that we can bring business in, because as we build all of these thousands of houses, where do they work?
That's the number one question.
And that's already a problem now.
It's a problem now.
Has been a problem.
What the mindset is in Palm Coast is that Palm Coast is a retirement community. It never was a retirement community. Never was a retirement community. It was a golfing and boating community, but not and the easy way to prove that it was never actually intended to be a retirement community is, how do you have a bus stops and public transportation for seniors as a retiree? There is no way. All the cul-de-sacs and everything, you can't have a person, an elderly person, walk from their street of a cul-de-sac out to the main street to catch a bus to go to Publix. It's not designed. It is designed, all the houses on the canals, the houses on the golf course. It was initially designed as a golfing and boating community. But the mindset is retirement community. So they want to keep it in their minds. And when I say they, it's the prevailing thought pattern of the local government and the people in charge, is to maintain it as a bedroom community. You live here, but you work somewhere else. Well, a lot of the housing that they intend to build is more affordable housing, and they say it's affordable for firemen and nurses and things like that. But it also extends out to everybody that can't afford regular housing. They'll have affordable housing. So you have affordable housing, but where do you work? If you can't afford, the high end rent that's being charged in Palm Coast, or to buy a house, how can you afford the trip to Orlando for a job every day? The thought pattern is wrong, in my opinion.
No, it seems true, and like you mentioned, even if you do have a job, you can't afford to stay here. Now, I work in Tampa. I mean, luckily my job's like mainly online, but I still go to Tampa, so I'm fortunate for that. But if I didn't, I would be drowning.
Exactly. What do you do? And the big push is for restaurants. Everybody wants good restaurants and things like that. And I don't think that there's a waiter that makes enough money to pay a mortgage and save up enough money to buy a house, or even the rents in Palm Coast and probably throughout Flagler County. And now, if you can get a low end around $1,800 a month, you're doing good. It's way up beyond that. And the regular jobs don't pay the money. You need industry.
So why don't you think that anybody that's ever in the council or mayor or any of that tries to attract any industry, or do they do that and it doesn't pan out, or what?
Well, let's look at it. The mayor, well, first off, he's a real estate broker, but so real estate is his mindset. Nothing against that. There's approximately 1,000 real estate agents in Palm Coast or in Flagler County right now. But that's where his mindset is. I believe he owned a restaurant once, but it didn't pan out. I've had failed businesses too. That's no big deal. The thing is, though, unless you own your own business for an extended period of time, that you have to reach in your own pocket to make payroll or whatever at the end of the week or the end of the month, you don't understand how things run business-wise. So the mayor basically has not been a small business owner. District 1 has not been a small business owner. District 3 has not been a small business owner. District 4, I'm not. She's a real estate agent, but I'm not sure that she's actually ever owned her own business. And District 2 had her own law firm for a short period of time. None of them are extended small business owners, so they don't have the mindset. We need people in there. We need working people like myself. I was hoping to get in there and then to bring that mindset in and change the change the path a little bit.
That makes sense. I saw that, like, when I were talking about like the development and whatnot, I saw that you just posted about the city budget's unsustainable, and that and that's also causing, you said, them to push all these developments for the property tax money.
Yeah, that was. I mean, I posted that, but that's not my words.
Yeah.
But according to what they've been saying, is that the long-term survival of the city is unsustainable with the current, property tax is the big money for them. The property tax generated. So that is why they're pushing for the westward expansion, so that they can add rooftops to increase the property, or increase the amount of property tax coming in. Right now, Palm Coast, 92% of the tax revenue comes from the residents and 8% from commercial interest. It's not sustainable that way. And actually, if you think about it, right now, Palm Coast is 50 years old. The canal, the dams that were blocked off when they dug the canals, the saltwater canals in Palm Coast, was opened in 1973. So this is 50 years. Palm Coast is now running out of development area within the confines of the property that's currently available. So they want to expand into and bring in more property. But they're not, as we mentioned earlier, not looking at more jobs. Amazon distribution center down on I-4, by DeLand. Mm-hmm. The guy that owns that owns property here. He wanted it here. 400 jobs. No.
And they wouldn't allow it, or
Too much hassle to try to get a business started in Palm Coast of that size, that magnitude. The red tape they put in front of you just drives you away.
yeah. Well, speaking back to what you said about like people thinking it's a retirement in the community, I remember my mom saying that like it's not that anymore or whatever 20 years ago.
Yeah, well, it never was, but it's
Yeah.
not a boating, golfing community anymore. Because when I moved here, there was no bridge going over 95 in Palm Coast. You had to go out Old Kings Road to Route 100, go west down to Belterre, and come back in order to get to anything on that side. So most of that side was not developed. Colbert Lane and all that didn't exist. The Grand Haven area was not property owned by Palm Coast, ITT back at the time. So it was a small, quaint little boating, golfing community, and then it expanded. And now there's more people that don't live on golf courses and don't live on the canals than do. So that whole thing has basically gone away. Now it's a city,
Yeah.
and how do we maintain the city?
With service jobs.
What was the situation that you were talking about with the FPL?
Oh yeah, I wanted to have him speak on it a little bit too. Apparently they're like is being monopolized, or can you talk about it a little bit?
So what happened is, again, it goes back to the unsustainability of Palm Coast on the property tax money that they're bringing in now. They need to find other revenue sources. They still refuse to look at business where they can tax business and make more money. They're trying to find other ways. Don't ask me why. But one of the ways that they came up with was, and it's so backdoor that it's was the franchise fee for FPL. They wanted to increase a franchise fee onto FPL, and then of course FPL would then pass that on to the customers, right?
On the monthly bill.
Right, they're not going to do it
Okay.
for free. So because it's a franchise fee to FPL, from the city to FPL, it's not considered a tax against the people, knowing darn well that FPL is not going to absorb that. They're going to pass it on to the people. The people pay back FPL. FPL pays us. But the electric bills are so high right now, and the taxes are high right now, and the utility bill for water and so forth is out of sight in Palm Coast right now. So people, got up in arms. No, we can't do this. You got to find another way. And FPL itself wasn't thrilled about it. And through some Freedom of Information Act requests to the city and so forth, we've got all of the texts and communications between the mayor and the head of people at FPL. And in that, we got a copy of the actual ordinance that was going to be written had it been approved. And in that, it said that the city would not allow any other electric generating company to come in. There would be no competition. And no competition essentially means a monopoly.
So I guess this is kind of getting into the next question that I have for you is, why would you say that people think you possibly are controversial? Like,
Because I am.
okay.
But if something's going the way that the people of Palm Coast want it to go, then that's the way it should go. But if you go to city council meetings and you see the first 3 hours of a meeting are lines of people standing at the podium complaining about a particular issue that they're going to discuss that night, 50, 60, whatever people, 2-3 hours worth of, we don't like you. And then you go, all right, thank you for coming forward. We're going to do it anyway. Then I got to stand up and say, hey, it's for the people, by the people, not, wow, too bad for you. We're going to do it anyway. So then I, open my mouth. I become, the loudmouth minority, which is a quote from the mayor. And
Oh, is it?
yeah, it's kind of tricky. He did an interview on another. I won't mention the name because anyway. He did an interview and a whole bunch of questions, and in it, one of his answers was, "I don't pay attention to the loudmouth minorities on social media." So it's
That could be me too.
So my
could
que-
be.
so the question is then, who do you pay attention to? I mean, business interests. I mean, is that
Well, if you
is
look
that
at
how it
if
goes?
you look at the contributions to his last election, it was all. I shouldn't say all. It was 90% out of the area money flowing into him, and if you add it all up, before he voted himself a raise when he got elected, well, he did. It used to pay $11,000 a year as mayor.
We were just talking about this.
Yeah.
It's like 92,000 or something.
No, he jumped it. It's 36,000, I think, plus medical. But anyway, before that, it's an $11,000 a year job. I think I have the most passion of any of the people that have run for the city of Palm Coast, and my thought pattern was, 11,000 is nice. It pays you gas to go back and forth, but really it should be a volunteer position. You should not be compensated for doing what your civil duty should be. That's my thought. So he gives himself a raise to 36,000, whatever. But there was, I'm going to say the number. I don't have proof with me for the number, but his campaign, I'm not going to say him, but his campaign spent $264,000 for an $11,000 a year job. Where is that?
The comeback somewhere.
You become a puppet in my mind.
Yeah.
And if you look at the rulings that he's done, kind of substantiates it.
Well,
Well, hold on real quick. Like earlier, I don't know if you were on camera or off camera, you were saying that someone was saying that you said a former councilman or whatever was like, people don't know, they need to be told what they need to know.
Yeah, I'm not going to mention that person's
Yeah,
name.
but if we don't like what they're doing, though, like, what is the right thing to do? Like, I mean, I get like in politics, they take money from people who have a lot of money and do what they want to do, where like us little people are like just here. And if we're like, we don't like what's going on, we're like, hey, we don't like this, but like, what's the plan? Like, how do you?
That's first off, I hate to say it, but people have to become educated voters, and you have to go past the noise when you're researching things, and look at what a person's platform is, and then look at how long have they been saying that and doing that. I ran for city council, and the person that I ran against didn't even live in the district until a couple of weeks before the election. So how much do you know about the district if you didn't live in the district?
Yeah.
I've lived in the District 2, which encompasses the C section. I've lived there all but probably 3 years of the 40 years that I've lived in Palm Coast. I know the section. I know the canals. I know the issues of the area. And your job as that district representative is to represent that area. But, people listen to noise and don't look at the fact that how do you know what's going on in my neighborhood if you didn't live in my neighborhood?
Yeah.
I feel that.
Yeah. And so, it went down that way. What do you do about it? You have to be informed. You have to inform yourself. And then if things are going bad and not the way you like it, then, you got to go to the city council and speak up, but 9 times out of 10, you're just noise to them. And, but there are methods to do recalls and stuff like that. It's not easy. It's expensive. You have to get a lot of people together to be able to do it. But unfortunately, the system is set up that because we live in a representative society, not a democracy. We do not live in a democracy. Yeah. We live in a republic.
Yes.
All right. So when I vote somebody in, I'm giving them the power to speak for me, be my representative.
Yeah.
I don't get to vote on everything that comes up anymore. You're the guy, you go do what I think you should do as I would do it. But you can't vote somebody that way if you haven't researched to see if they think the same way you do. So there's an issue in that, and it's all set up so that, once they're in,
Is like everything too far gone to
nothing's
get back?
ever too far
No?
gone. It feels that way.
Because I feel like it's just like money, narrative control, and
Yeah.
noise is what gets everything. Because
So-
the
so-
average person is stupid, and they just repeat what they hear on TV or whatever, and they're like, "Yeah, I hate Trump for I don't know why, but I do."
It's interesting
Like-
because to your point, there was a TV commercial that my opponent put up. Our Mayor Elfin put up. Well, his campaign put up. He uses the campaign as his way of saying I didn't say that. But they somewhere President Trump did a speech somewhere. I don't know what speech it was, and in that speech he said no to something. So that his campaign cut President Trump saying no out. And then they did the TV commercial and, no to Lowe, blah, 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 blah. And even President Trump doesn't like Alan Lowe. So and they put him up, no to Lowe. And I had people come to me and say, I'd vote for you, but President Trump doesn't like you. I'm like, are you kidding me? You really fell for that? Even if he didn't like me, I'd be honored to know that a president of the United States, Trump or whoever, knew who I was. I mean,
Yeah.
But people, they're so gullible.
That's crazy. So, a question that I had for you as well is, so before this, and just so we can speak to everybody and let them know, we said, hey, we're not here to like smear anybody or, go crazy, but we do want to keep this honest. And you said, hey, if there's even some backlash that you guys might have heard, let's speak about it.
I don't have a hidden subject.
So some things that I saw were that you spoke about being a sovereign citizen.
Yeah.
Can you maybe explain to the people what that is and what maybe some pros and cons or why somebody would want to do that?
Okay. Well, first off, we're talking about things that happened 30 years ago.
Oh, okay. That's first.
This isn't a current.
That's one of the things that they try and bring up and
Of
make
course,
it
yeah,
seem
you
like,
did,
okay.
you did it yesterday, but I don't think there's a person in the world that looks back 30 years and say, "Wow, I've been perfect this whole time."
Right.
I made mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes.
Okay.
But as we discussed a little while ago, I don't know if we were on camera or not, but we were. We talked about a republic, right? So you vote somebody in to represent you. Where does you get the power to vote somebody in? I can't give you the power to represent me if I don't have the power to give it to you,
Correct.
right? So before I give you the power, before I get into all of that, it's just me. And I'm sovereign. I give it up when I give you the power. What I was saying back then is if the government's going to do all this crap, and I was under attack, shouldn't say I was under attack. I had been audited by the IRS, and we came to an agreement. I paid them, and they wrote me a couple of weeks later and said, we want more. I said, oh, hell no. We agreed.
Right.
And
I know what this is.
yeah, and you just want the first number that we had that we
shakedown.
right? Yeah. So I said, no, it's not going to work that way. So I wrote a thing and I said, if this is the way you people are going to be, and this is how you're going to treat people in this country, then I want nothing to do with that. So I bring my power back, and I become sovereign.
Okay.
Let me ask you
A
about.
little while later, not to interrupt you, but a couple of years later, this
Well,
group showed up.
I wanna know what
calling
that means.
themselves sovereign citizens, and then they blew up the Oklahoma City federal building, and then Mayor Holland superimposed a picture of me in front of the federal building, saying I was involved with the group that blew it up. And if I was involved with the group that blew it up, probably the FBI would have taken me away a long time ago. I had nothing to do with it. It was two different things. I'm sovereign because I'm not giving you my voting power. They're sovereign because I guess they want to blow buildings up or whatever happened. They got put to death for it.
Yeah.
So
Totally different things.
when you're a sovereign citizen, does that mean like you're not allowed to vote, but also you don't have to pay taxes or something like that?
No, the whole tax thing. Okay, so we have America, the country. We have a corporation called the United States of America that's based in Washington, D.C. And I'm not saying negative things about it. That's just the way it's set up.
Right.
Right? What I said is I don't want to be part of your corporation. Not that I don't want to be
That's
part
what I was
of
just about
America.
to ask you a second ago, like, because I'm aware of that too. That the company of United States of America is in Washington D.C. and there's like different bylaws or
Yeah.
whatever the terms are that incorporate us in. And when we're given our birth certificate, I don't know if you have an opinion on this or not, because I hear like a lot of stuff. You know, I'm kind of like a conspiracy theorist, they would say, but I like to explore not what you're just telling me for face value, but you know, your name is printed on your birth certificate in all capital letters like a corporation, so that we're like part of we're owned by America as like a bond or a private entity that's in association with America. Like, does that have anything to do with your sovereign citizen stuff, or
Well,
are you aware of any of that? Like what I'm talking about
I'm
at all?
aware of that stuff, yeah. And you do cede your parental rights to the state to some degree, not necessarily just through the birth certificate, but I mean, the state can come into your house and take your kids under suspicion of abuse or whatever, and then it's up to you to prove it didn't happen. So you know that's, and I'm not faulting the state for coming in and trying to rescue children. Don't get me wrong on that.
I've also heard some other things though that like that's kind of like a business in itself. That CPI is almost like a private entity, and they're given money for.
Well, you know, we can go on for hours on the conspiracy end of it, but
Yeah.
but to get back, you have America and you have the United States of America, which is the corporation. And I said, I don't want to be part of your stuff if this is what you're doing to people. I'm not saying I'm not American. I'm saying
Right.
I'm not a corporate citizen. I'm
Gotcha.
a sovereign citizen. However, to the tax thing, I paid all. If I never paid taxes, I would be in jail. I would be under investigation. I would have tax liens. Blah 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 blah. 30 years ago, back when this whole thing started, as I told you, the IRS did an audit on me, and I'll tell you the numbers. They did an audit. They said I owed them $34,000. I said I don't have $34,000. Take my house. They said, we don't want your house. I said, well, you have a problem then. I don't.
Sounds like a you problem.
Yeah, I don't have the money, so you know whatever you want to do. And so they did three. It took 3 days to do the audit to start with. It they put me in this room. I was down at the IRS office. They put me in this room. They come back in the room about 10 minutes later. My brain wasn't clicking fast enough to say, well, it took you 3 days to do it the first time and 10 minutes to do it the second time. But they came in and said, can you afford $4,000? Well, the IRS used to be in a building down in Daytona, was 7 stories tall. First Union Bank, which is gone now, used to be the first floor, and I had an account in First Union Bank. So I said, yeah, I'll do the $4,000. I go down, I get a cashier's check, $4,000, give it to him, shake hands, signed a bunch of paperwork, gone. 2 weeks later, I get this paper that says you owe us an additional $10,000. I go down to him. I said, oh, no. You said this is what I paid. And they said, oh, yeah, but no. We found more. And I said, well, that's too bad because it's not going to happen. So I went to war with them on that. And it led up to all the other stuff. But I never not paid taxes. You know, they want to say, oh, he never paid any tax. Well, yeah, I did. I just wasn't going to play that game. And in the end, I actually sued the IRS and those agents in federal district court. I didn't win any money, but
Moral victory?
But yeah, moral victory. And they actually at that time did put a tax lien on me, and they wanted my house, which I tried to give them to start with. You know?
Oh, now you want it.
Yeah, here, oh, yeah, now you want. Yeah, exactly. But and they put it up for sale. They were going to do a tax lien sale, and you know, you asked about being controversial and stuff. So they put a lien on my house, and they were going to sell it. Well, I had lived in the house for 9 years, and I mowed my own lawn. But I never got paid for mowing my own lawn. So I put a lien on my house for the amount that I would have had, would have made for mowing the lawns. And I put it on as a mechanic's lien. Mechanic's lien takes first position over all liens. So had they sold the house, they would have had to pay me. So they canceled the lien.
That's funny. And that's very smart.
Strong move, yeah. I like that.
Yeah, so I'm not saying that I disagree with all the stuff. I'm just saying, hey, if you're going to attack me like this, I'm going to fight back. I'm not just going to roll over. But they brought that stuff and they said, "Wow, he's never paid taxes," and and they make it sound like it's today. But it
I wonder
was
what they would say
30
about me. I don't know.
That's what I'm saying, man. If you want to run for office,
You
get
got to
ready. Put your helmet
stay
on.
in line and shut up, and then they won't ask.
So, a couple more things we have, and maybe you'd like to speak on this. The voting against the external audit.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, 'cause, yeah. I googled you before and like got some stuff, and then I was like, all right, well, I got this stuff, but again, I don't want to just talk about everything that's been online from however many years ago. Like right now, what are you saying? You know?
Well, right now it was brought up again. 3 city council meetings ago, people brought forward and asked for an independent forensic audit
I saw that.
because we don't know how the money's being spent, and they kind of aren't really most transparent as they could be. For instance, the city says we have a balanced budget. Every year we have to balance the budget. We don't have any debt. That's absolutely true with the general fund. However, the utility fund is $220 million in debt.
Oh, that fund.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, you meant that one. Yeah. So when they say the city's not in debt, the city's in debt. But
Oh, go ahead.
oh, darn, I rattled my mouth too much about what you asked.
Just talking about the external auditing.
Oh yeah. So people said, "Hey, we don't really know what's going on. We'd like to have an independent forensic audit to find out. We just want proof everything's good." And I had nothing to do with asking for it this time. I did in the past. And then city council got together and they said, "Yes, we unanimously vote in favor of finding the costs and what we need to do in order to do an independent audit." The very next city council meeting, they said, "Oh, hell no, we don't need to do that." three of them backed out.
They probably talked about it.
Yeah, well, oh no, that's illegal. but there's 5 people on city council. It takes 3 votes to make it go one way or the other, and 3 of them said no, we don't want it. So no forensic audit.
Interesting.
I feel like a lot of like normal people who don't really know about a lot of stuff feel like, oh, well, he's getting kickbacks from this company to do this, or they're getting kickbacks to that company. Is that, you feel like that's really a thing, or like?
I have no proof that anybody has got a kickback from anybody. But
like you said, the guy spent
sure looks weird.
$250,000 to make an $11,000 job. Like,
Who would
Looks
he,
weird.
I mean,
Where'd
how
he
would
get it from?
How would you get the money back? Like, and now we're just speculating.
Yeah, well, you
Like
know,
through like real estate deals or like giving contracts to this person, that person. Is that how they do it?
I don't know, but I do know that if you look at the money spent by outside interests to have our current mayor elected, actually I like the guy. I don't dislike him. I dislike what he's doing. You know, I separate the person from the foolishness.
Yeah.
He probably doesn't feel the same way about me, but I don't care. But it almost seems like most development and policies that are development oriented get rubber stamped. For instance, over by the marina in Palm Coast, that's been sold and it's now going to be developed. There's an amount of density, the number of home units or apartment units that you can have on a given acre of property.
Okay.
And coming in, I didn't refresh my brain on it, but all of the developments around it had X amount. And I'm going to pull a number out. This may not be the exact number, but say they had an 8% or 8 units or something per acre. It's not the number, but let's use it for an instance. Then that one comes along, and they say, you know what? We really can't make any money at 8. We need 15. Now, all the other ones around them, the density is 8. They go, yeah, we need 15 really to make a buck here. So, what do you say? And the mayor and some of the majority of the rest of the council go, you know what? Yeah, sure, let's do that. So now there's a precedent. So in the rest of the city, people can cram houses in or cram apartments in and just super, I'm going to use, I got to make up a word, super densify an area, and then they say, well, impact fees are going to pay for the roads and the infrastructure for that development. It doesn't come out of the pocket of the city. Well, right outside of that development, those same people are driving on those roads, and those roads aren't, the wear and tear on those roads aren't covered by the impact fees by the developer. So we have to pay to maintain the road outside that development that all those people are now using. And in my opinion, they overstress our infrastructure. And in fact, we are, it's 30 something, I believe it's $35 million behind in Palm Coast on our road infrastructure. So, we got $53 million to go west, young man, but can't take care of what we already got. And that's a problem.
It is pretty jammed up in town.
Yeah.
For sure.
And no jobs. Remember, we're not bringing in
no
jobs.
jobs, yeah.
We're just bringing in people.
What do you think is Flagler County's biggest concern?
People-wise or government-wise?
Just as a city, I think public transportation.
Yes, public transportation is a problem. And I had this great idea. Everything I can. I had this idea. I was thinking, you've got the big resort that's out behind Publix on A1A. That's got 10-story tall. It's a resort. A lot of people come there vacationing, but they're locked in there because they don't know where everything else is.
And the bridge and stuff.
Right. If we had the old-fashioned trolley car style buses, they look like an old trolley car. If we had one that ran from there to European Village, from European Village to Publix, from Publix to the other side to Town Center, from Town Center to Flagler Beach, and the road back again, right? The people from the resort could go anywhere they want in Palm Coast. The people in Palm Coast could jump on one of these and go to the beach because there's a parking issue at the beach, right? Well, you've got this trolley running back and forth, say every 15 minutes or so. You eliminate a lot of that parking, and now you can bring people around town on a really cool bus. And if you're a resident, you get a yearly pass, whatever the amount will be. But if you're a tourist, you get nailed for it.
Yeah, $5,
$10.
to
help offset, exactly. Then you've got a transportation system. Now, it's not going to every street in Palm Coast, obviously, but it's going to the major concerns, and you can then go and jump on and get to the next location.
Yeah, I think
See, that was a really great idea, don't you think?
I think it is.
I've kind of thought that for a while too. If they just did it maybe Palm Coast Parkway one way, 100 one way.
Yeah.
Altair here, there, just a
But make
grid.
it fun. Make it one of these trolley buses instead of just some old, school bus looking thing.
Because now they have the FCT, which is you have to call and schedule a ride, right?
Yeah, it's
that doesn't
weeks
seem
in
very
advance.
efficient.
Yeah, my mom passed away from cancer, and she had to get to. Thank you. She had to get to various doctor's appointments and things around town. We could never get the schedule to work, and so we ended up. And I don't mind driving her around, but there were times where I went work and I got to come and I got to pick her up and go. Hey, she's my mom. I'll do it.
Yeah.
But there's a system here that just isn't working.
Right, I agree.
Now, do you know anything about do they lose a lot of money with that busing system, the Flagler County? Or you don't know anything about that at all? I mean, okay. Because it just seems inefficient, and I've thought it for a while. That you call it's almost like a public taxi bus.
Yeah, it is, and then I don't know how many of them they have, so they probably don't have enough to service everybody that's calling in.
Right.
And I know you have to call in 2 or 3 weeks in advance, but you don't know if you're going to have a doctor's appointment.
Yeah.
Well, I guess now you do because it's 6 months.
You got to take that long to get one. Yeah.
But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
This could be a question for all of us, but how do you feel that? How can I explain this? As a community, we can educate. Basically, we got this podcast, but what do you think are some ways? Because I feel like there's a disconnect between the city and the people.
Big time.
And that's why I want to try and start getting people to come on this podcast and speak to the people directly
Well,
And-
we have a couple of different large media outlets. We have three actually that service Flagler County: News Journal, The Observer, and that other one.
Oh.
I don't think the true story really gets out in any of them. So I think the way to do it is your podcast. More people doing podcasts on other subjects so that people can tune in and see
Right.
different things. But also, when I was campaigning, I held, and I think it's really funny because some of the people in city council are now doing it. I held, I'll call it a public town hall, even though I wasn't an elected official, at the community center. And we say, here's the subject that we're going to discuss today. And everybody can come in. We discuss that subject. And then, I think I had three of them. And then we had another subject, another, trying to bring people together that you get a core group of people that you educate, and they go out and educate 10 people each, and
Yeah.
you start to spread it out. I think it has to be a grassroots, homegrown thing.
Definitely.
I don't think we're going to get media to do it.
You know what? I just thought of this right now. You be my mentor and my coach to run for city council and then mayor.
I don't mind doing it.
You know what I
Put
mean?
your helmet on, though.
It would say Robinson Lowe.
Well, you'll get people that'll love you for it and people that'll hate you for it just because my name is there.
Oh man,
But
that'd be great.
yeah,
Let me ask you this. Now, you're associated with the Trump fan club. We talked about it a little bit, somewhat. Do you feel like you get support from people who also like that? Like, is it very kind of
Well, it's
tribal in a
it's
sense, like that?
Well,
like
probably
that type of person?
probably, but it's also a double-edged sword. Well, first of all, as I mentioned to you earlier when we were beforehand, I like President Trump's policies that he did when he was in office. Sometimes I think he should just shut up, but I think everybody thinks that.
Well, I like him. I mean, I'm a fan.
Well, I do like. I'm not saying I dislike him. I'm just saying, sometimes like, wow, really?
I know,
But-
the way he carries on, I get it. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
But I really liked the guy. I liked the policies he had. I mean, we had such low unemployment, such low fuel costs. I mean, he was really rocking it, I think. But
No Iran war.
yeah.
Yeah.
But then we have people who hate him. So if you say I like President Trump, then those that hate him hate you, and but that's on a national level. When we breaking it down to the local level, it's got nothing to do with that stuff. It's how are you going to be, not how is he going to be? Because he probably doesn't even know where Flagler County is.
Now, you're a Republican, or but are you more like a libertarian?
No, I'm.
You're
Well, that's interesting. Never thought of it.
Because I'm a registered Republican, but I consider myself more of a libertarian because I'm not 100% locked into.
Well, no, I'm not. I'm
All
not.
like,
I'm not toe party line, no matter what.
Exactly, yeah.
And I do believe that you should be able to do pretty much on your property what you want, as long as what you do doesn't interfere with the rights of somebody else. That's more of a libertarian view than a hardcore Republican. But I'm also a conservative, and there's a difference. I mean, you got Republicans that rhinos.
That's
Republican in name only.
yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
And then you got dirt, which is Democrat and Republican trousers.
Dirt.
Democrat.
But then you have people who have the conservative mindset, which is more fiscally oriented and more business minded. I'm going to call it, at least my version of conservatism is, versus more socially oriented, because I think the country is a business, and President Trump, I believe, proved that if you run it like a business, you can improve the standing for most everybody. If you run it as a social welfare state, you really can't improve anybody's standing, other than giving people money that don't.
And I feel like people always want to discount incentive. When you take people's incentives away, there's the motivation.
Yes, exactly.
And then, look at COVID. Like once they started throwing the checks out, like I don't need to go to work. I'm getting this.
it's still
this back.
reverberating because
Yeah.
of that.
So I've heard different ways. This is just gonna be a little bit of pushback, although I agree with some parts. But was Trump the one that gave out the checks?
He started the program.
You know, and like, so could we say that we could blame him for inflation? You know, I feel like, and I'm not saying that I like Biden, although I will admit that I did vote for him.
There you go.
But
I finally met somebody.
I will admit it. But yeah,
Exactly.
But I'll break that down in a second. But it's like, can we at least talk about that? It's like,
Oh no, he
You know what I mean?
pushed
Like-
for the vaccines. He pushed for the. I mean,
You
yes,
know what I mean?
100%.
But he didn't know what to do. It was unknown at that time.
And I'll give you that.
but you wouldn't give Biden that same
Because
grace.
they already.
Because he knew.
Yeah, he knew, and then he
We
extended it out.
were already 2 years into it.
But did Biden do the CARES Act? That was Biden, or was that Trump?
Well, Trump. I don't know who named CARES Act, but Trump did start the program. But once you come into something without knowledge, you gain knowledge, you change the way you're doing it. I mean, there's thoughts or there's people saying now that when this next winter flu season starts and people start to catch COVID again, that they'll look at doing lockdowns again. I think if they tried to do lockdowns again, they'll have a civil war. But that's a whole different story. But but yes, it did.
I appreciate that. So I'll get into the reason why I did vote for him. And I kind of felt like a basketball coach. I was like, "Hey, Trump, get on the bench for a minute, man. You need to take a breather. He's an athlete. He's a baller, yeah, but he's just, you know, when you got that athlete that just talks too much and he's just, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
you got to take a breather. We'll get you back in the game in a minute. Let's put Biden in, see how he does. Okay, he's not doing that well. That's okay. But as a coach, I would rather sit my athlete instead of just letting them just, you know what I mean? But I did say at this point right now, I'll just say whatever today's date is, it does look like I'm going to vote for Trump. What's going on with this whole, is he going to get arrested? Is he going to be able to go for
I think he
president?
did just
or-
get arrested again.
I mean, he did, but is anything going to, is this one going to stick?
No.
Well, one of the things you got to think about is that these cases, you know, they're going to do extensions and it'll be a few years before they actually get to court for the final hearing,
Right.
long past the election time.
Wow.
So,
And then he'll be okay because he'll be president.
and you can't exactly. And the other thing about it too, though, if you look at the polls and the support, every time they do that and they find a new, we're going to get him on this, his support, his base shoots up.
Crazy.
I mean, every time they do it, he gets more popular, and there's something to be said for that because people are now saying, you know, with remember the whole Russian dossier hoax and all that thing that people don't trust anybody anymore.
Right.
You know, which is sad. They don't trust the government anymore. But yeah,
Yeah, they don't.
I don't trust the government.
no,
I shouldn't.
I fought them. That's why I'm now a terrorist that blew up the Oklahoma
Yeah, but you know,
City building.
it's still
Oh,
crazy.
no.
I just saw this clip the other day where like Hillary Clinton was on Maddow, and they were still saying things from a few years ago that like everybody knows is not the case, but they just say it like,
Well, if you say it enough, it becomes the truth.
and that's all they do is just keep saying it, saying it, saying it, and it's like that's not true. Everybody already knows that's not true. It's been disproven and this and that, but they just stay with it. It's
Well, you
like,
get the next group of people who don't know anything, and they go, "Oh, wow, really? That's the first time I'm hearing this." You know, and you just keep doing it over and over, and it's sad.
it's very echo chamber, and I hate like whenever I start talking about something, people be like, "Oh, well, you're just in the Republican echo chamber," and it's like, no, I'm not. no, I'm not at all. I'm just like looking around and not like just listening to what anybody's saying and taking that as
Well, you have
like
to be
what it is.
open-minded, I think, and listen to what everybody has to say. Did I vote for Biden? No. But you have to accept that there are other point of views, and you have to see if maybe some of those point of views have merit, and maybe you should listen to them rather than, you know, 100% towing a party line and discounting anything anybody says that's not in that party. You know, and unfortunately, that's a lot of the mindset today. I won't listen to anything that anybody says if they're not, you know, towing the party line.
Vote blue no matter who.
No?
Is that a thing?
Yeah, that's what they say. Yeah, vote blue no matter who.
Yeah.
Even though, like, I feel like this was like pointed out, like, they do this division thing because they no longer represent like the working people that they once did. Like my dad, he's like a Trump voter now. He was like, when I was growing up, my mom said, Democrats are for the poor people, Republicans are for the rich people. And then at some point that kind of got switched up, and now Democrats are just, like corporatists, I guess, and like they've abandoned like all the workers and unions and whatnot, and they push the identity politics and this and that. All we have is abortion and racism. And
I think what's happened is everybody's become polarized, and they've used politics and party. They being the upper elite, politics and party, to create a division among. Think back 5 years ago, 8 years ago. Who cared whether you're a Republican or Democrat? That conversation never came up. At voting time, it might be, hey, who you voting for? Hey, who you voting for? And then you go out and have lunch together.
Right.
Nobody cared.
Right.
But they created this division where you vote for him. Hey, I can't.
You're a bad person.
You can't be my friend anymore. And it's sad that we've got to that point, because now we're not listening to what other people are saying. And I think that's a huge, giant step backwards.
How do you feel about how DeSantis is doing things in Florida? We don't have to talk.
Okay, so I first off, for the vast majority, I believe that DeSantis is one of the best governors in the United States.
I can agree with that.
Okay, there's a couple of things that he's done that, if it came down to him versus Trump, I would on a Republican ticket, I would vote 100% Trump without any reservation. Two of the bills that he passed, the ones that really hit me, are beyond all the woke crap and all that other stuff, which is just another form of brain division. They passed a bill that said, and I have to paraphrase it all because I don't know the exact wording. If you're a developer, back to development, right? If you're a developer and you own land anywhere, and you want to build affordable housing on that land, but it has the wrong zoning, you no longer have to go to zoning to have it changed. You don't have to have public meetings and public hearings. You don't have to go to city council to have the change approved. It's just automatic. That means that, if there was 20 acres next door to your house right now that was
Zoned for residential.
zoned
Zoned for single family.
Single family, boom.
Apartment complex.
Instant. Nothing you can do about it. The second bill was, if you disagree with that
You're going to jail.
and you want to sue for it, then you have to pay all the attorney's fees for all parties.
Whoa. So they make it expensive if you got a problem with it. Wow.
So that bothered me. And I'm paraphrasing what it actually said. I mean, the wording probably not exactly like what I just said, but that is the gist of what they did. And to me, it's like, ooh, that opens up a can of worms that could be, really detrimental. I think it should be the community's decision as to what gets built within a community.
so
Why have a master plan if you're just going to erase it?
how do you feel about, like, a lot of people will be like, the market will work itself out, but we don't really get to experience that because there's a lot of things that inhibit the market actually being a free market and working itself out. So like in a 100% free market, anybody could do whatever they want to do and things will fall where they're going to fall. And I feel like, what he's saying kind of is along those lines.
We don't have a free market. You
I
can't
said the same thing.
You can't have a free market if your market's regulated in a way that says you can't do this. And I'm not talking about illegal stuff or whatever, but in a free market, you start a business and you push it, and if it fails, too bad for you. And if it flourishes, hey, you did great. But you can't, say, all right, I'm going to start a business, and then the government steps in and says, well, like totally hypothetical, but let's say, I'm going to start a landscaping business or I'm actually, case in point, a real case in point, Baskin Robbins and Dunkin' Donuts on Palm Coast Parkway in Palm Coast wanted to build their building. A legitimate business. It's a national business. The city said, "Oh, we don't like your colors.
Really?
You can't paint your building with the colors that are your national colors that you have on every other building in the United States. No, you got to change. Here's your palette. Choose from this."
Everything is like a tan and like salmon color,
Yeah, they want very toned down.
yellow.
Not that destroyed their business at all, but it's like, where's the free market in that?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, my color for my business is bright purple or whatever I want it to be. Should be able to do it bright purple.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we don't have a free market.
So that's interesting because like whenever like a liberal will argue with like a Republican, for example, or whatever, and they're like, they say that, and the liberal will be like, well, it's not that, but then the Republican says, well, you know, like Thomas Sowell and stuff like that. They always want to like go back to Thomas Sowell, and he always points out that whenever there's an intervention in the market that is bad, yet it still like leans to that way. Where am I going? So, but
That
do you think
definitely happened to me.
you feel like is there no free market at all?
Oh no. Well,
Because I feel
I mean,
like
if you have a regulated market, is it free?
no, it's not.
So
Yeah.
there's,
So that's like a bad, I guess.
And I'm not talking about for illegal stuff.
Yeah,
you know? I'm
yeah.
talking a legitimate business, legitimate investments, and so forth. Not the not the inside trading that the government does and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, if I'm telling you can't do it, then it's not a free market.
Yeah, I agree.
Getting into a little bit more with that. So we were speaking earlier about digital currency, and what are some of your fears with that? Because I'll speak on mine first. Is, you know, there's no privacy in your spending. You know, it's like, why does everything that I'm buying have to be made public, or on that aspect? Like, I think it's one thing to use it to trade, make it easier if I don't have any cash on me or something like that.
Well, that's a credit card. We already have it.
That's true. You know what I mean? So, okay, so then let me ask you this. Like, what are we so scared of if we're already doing it? Or are they going to eliminate?
Let's say there's a yard sale next door and you want to go buy a pressure cooker.
Mm-hmm.
You have to buy it with digital currency. You can't just go hand the guy $5.
I mean, well,
Now the government knows you have a pressure cooker.
okay.
Let's say you're going to buy, legitimately, going to buy a hunting rifle.
Mm-hmm.
Now they know you have a firearm.
True.
Let's say, I hate to put it this way, but let's say you're an undocumented person and you're working under the table. Not anymore.
Well, that's a good thing, though, right?
No, well, I'm not discounting that, but what I'm saying is there's the government will know every penny you have and every place you put it. And then if you look at China, which, you know, they have social...
Credit score.
Credit score.
Right. Businesses in Palm Coast, no. Businesses in the United States, banks, now use social credit score in determining your mortgages. And insurance companies use it.
And I heard like even applying places, they put you through a little thing, you know,
That's
to check
right.
your credit and stuff like
Right.
that.
So with digital currency, if the government, this is when you go full bore into it, you know, with digital currency, the government knows everything you're doing. They see your social credit score. They say, well, yeah, you're not going on that trip.
And you know, and also too, my concern is like they want to tie everything into like your carbon footprint. So it's like you ate too much beef this month.
Yes.
You can't buy any more beef. Oh, you can't take that vacation because you've already used up your yearly gas expenditure for
Right.
whatever.
And I mean, we're talking on a high end, you know, crazy level, but it's happening in China, and there's nothing to stop it from happening here. Well, there is. It's called a civil war, but I don't want to see that happen. But so that's my fears. If the government raises your taxes, they're never going to lower it. The government takes something away, they're never going to give it back. The more power that you give them from your sovereignty, the more power that you give them, they will never give it back. They just take it, and it gets to a point eventually where you either bow down or fight back.
See, that's what I was talking to John about too. Like you really remind me of this guy that I used to know named Doc, and he was like around your age, Vietnam vet.
25?
Like, Doc?
25 years old? That's my
He's older. He's an older guy. He's like he was in Vietnam.
He's saying around his age, and he's saying he's 25 years old.
Oh. But y'all grew up in a time where it was different than now.
Yes.
So the norm now is not the norm to
And nobody likes change.
Guys your age, but like you had more freedoms and like liberty, and I feel like people now don't even realize that they don't even have the amount of freedoms.
When I was a kid, we could have fireworks.
Yeah, now it's like it's just
simple as that. I'm not saying it's not a bad idea because people were blowing their hands off, but if you blow your hand off, wow, you're stupid.
that's your bad. Yeah,
Natural selection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We used to have this little thing. It was called creepy crawlies, and it was this little metal hot plate thing, and it had these little metal molds that you put in of spiders and lizards and stuff, and then there was some kind of stuff which was called goop. I don't know what it was. That you would pour in it, and it would heat up, and it would get really hot, and then it would harden this stuff, and then you could have like little rubber spiders and stuff. If you touched it, it would burn you. Well, that's gone now because you could touch it and burn you.
Dang.
I mean, come on. You
Don't
teach your
touch
kid
it.
not to touch the stove. How about teach him not to touch that?
yeah.
But you can't legislate everything into a point of being safe, because once you've done that, there's nothing left. There's government says you can't do this because you might hurt yourself. Well, sometimes you got to be able to hurt yourself.
Yeah, let 'em
That's
do it.
true.
I think like then you'll learn not to.
That's the
You know,
problem
like-
with society. We're not allowing the kids to touch the stove anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they don't even know what the consequences of things are.
No, and that's why we get the crazies that we get, because you just push the button and you have reset.
Yeah, they've never touched a stove until they're like 25.
Yeah.
So this is sticking with everything, but switching subjects a little bit. And I don't necessarily, need to know your personal view, but can you explain what the original Boston Tea Party is?
That was an increase. What was it? 0.1% tax on tea. And the king put on, and then the people said,
Well, I mean, isn't there like a Tea Party?
Oh, you mean
now?
the Tea Party now?
"Oh, the
Yeah.
Tea Party." Well,
Yeah.
I'm not sure the Tea Party actually exists anymore. But it was named. It was fighting what was happening. It was fighting it was fighting the liberal side of things. Actually, it was Republican conservatives against the liberals. In that, the thought pattern, I believe the thought pattern, everything that was happening at the time was that, and this was during Ronald Reagan time, that one side wanted to raise taxes and do all this kind of stuff, and the other side was against big government and against taxes, even though Ronald Reagan raised taxes and increased government. But so it became the name of the party became the Tea Party.
Okay. But I didn't know if they were like trying to make a resurgence now or.
I haven't heard of them around.
No, that's like kind of like from a little while ago. Yeah,
Okay.
they had like the Green Party come out after that too.
But I know people that were Tea Party that are now Trump people, but I think that could just be coincidence. But that's how I know of them, and I believe that was the thought pattern back then of what was happening, and they likened it to the original Tea Party,
Okay.
and grew it that way.
I think it's crazy. Like that's such a small like little tax on one thing, and the people were like, "Hell no!"
Oh yeah.
And now it's like,
Oh, now we bow down.
"Oh, we're just going to tax your eggs. We're going to tax your fuel. We're going to tax this."
The county is now considering another half cent increase in sales tax in order to pay for the county's road maintenance. So we're at 7% now. We'll hit 7.5%. You will get to a point where the surrounding counties who have lower sales tax stuff will get bought there and here. Up north in New England, New Hampshire does not have sales tax. So everybody in Maine drove across the border to New Hampshire and bought the high-priced items.
Is there something that comes with sales tax though? Or I guess it doesn't really make sense because like California, you think that they would be a little bit more secure there, but they're paying such high taxes, but also I hear that there's just not a huge police presence out there.
Well, they cut the police budgets. But, one of the issues with the road taxes is government, in my opinion, government is we have to solve the now problems. Although with their whacked up carbon thing, they're pretending the future, but they solve the now problems and they don't think of how is that going to affect tomorrow. So they push the electric vehicles really hard, right? And they mandate that your gasoline car by whatever has to get 50 miles per gallon or whatever. And that's great. It's good for the economy, except for the electric car part. And so you're not buying as much gas. So they're not getting as much gas tax. And the gas tax is the road tax. So we push and push and push you not to use as much fuel, but then the government loses money because you're not using as much fuel. And then we go 30 some odd $1 million behind in road maintenance in Palm Coast. So then the thought pattern is, well, maybe we should add a 1 penny a mile. We got to put a tracker on your car so we can keep track of the miles you've driven. And then when you re-register your vehicle every year, they bring in the little thingy and they say, oh, you drove, 30,000 miles, so you owe an additional $300, which would have been what you would have paid in gas tax. The problem with that, and that's an actual thing, the problem with it is, what if you don't have a fuel-efficient vehicle and you're paying that gas tax at the pump and you're still paying the penny a mile? So they don't think ahead. And that's the things, sales tax. Raise the sales tax so we can make more money to fix the roads, and then everybody buys stuff in the adjoining counties.
And I know you mentioned just California a second ago, like they're like hugely in debt and they have like the highest taxes.
Right. That's what I was saying.
And I think there's like a correlation that's been pointed out a lot of times that like the more you even like raise business taxes and whatnot, it decreases the amount of revenue that they actually bring in.
Well, because they move the company to another state or wherever that has a lower tax rate. Just like California. There was an exodus of big corporations from California, Elon Musk, for instance, to Texas. And it's just a game. They don't understand.
Yeah, we talked about like the carbon thing a second ago. I got this ad on my YouTube or whatever that was talking about your carbon diet. So they're already starting to push it out now, like preemptively plant the seeds of having a carbon-friendly based diet.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I thought that was crazy.
All that stuff. That's what I'm talking about. The social credit thing. It sounds way out there and crazy, but
It
the
doesn't sound
seeds
that
are
crazy.
here.
Yeah.
The seeds are
It's
here.
coming, and like it's crazy too. Like I'm sure you like know about like in Amsterdam and everything what they've been doing with now they're saying the nitrogen is the problem, trying to get all the farmers out of business so they can consolidate all that property.
Well, in Germany, my wife is German, so we used to go to Germany quite often. Germany decided to get rid of their coal fire and their nuclear power plants and rely on solar and wind. Okay? So the farmers, they went to the farmers and they said, look, we'll subsidize you not to grow, but to put all these windmills on your property. So they put, there's areas in Germany you drive and it's hundreds and hundreds of windmills that aren't turning because there's not enough wind.
Dang.
And then they got so many windmills up that aren't producing enough electricity that the government couldn't afford the subsidies to the farmers anymore. But the farmers can't grow crops anymore because they're so
Got windmills on my property.
right. And now there's a drought in Germany, so they can't produce their own food. They can't even if they wanted to because of the drought. They don't have enough electricity because, it snows and it covers a solar panel and the wind doesn't blow, you get no windmill, and you shut down all of your other backup power. They buy power from Poland. And then they were buying it from Russia through the natural gas pipe. Yeah, exactly. They don't think ahead. Now Germany is talking about firing the nuclear power plants back up. But, think ahead when you start it. But they don't. They get these great ideas and then away they go.
Well, Mr. Lowe, I really appreciate you coming through.
Oh, this is a blast. I appreciate it.
Definitely, man. This is very educational. I learned a lot, and I definitely am looking to run in the future. I'm trying to get as much knowledge as I can on the topic. There might be some bad stuff that comes out, but overall, I think it'll be okay. Because at the end of the day, it's just humans voting. We all make mistakes.
We do, and the first thing you have to do is accept your past. Whatever it is, just accept it. Accept that if somebody can find out about it, the world will know about it. Who cares? It's not going to change your life.
You're not going to vote for that crazy John Robinson.
And then you run your life, and you run your life the way you would do if you were an elected official. You don't change, and so many times you see these people that get into office and all of a sudden it's so stupid. I mean, you got Palm Coast. Who in hell knows what Palm Coast is? I bet if you go to St. Augustine and you ask the entire population of St. Augustine who the mayor of Palm Coast is, most of them will have no clue. Yeah, Palm Coast people don't know who the mayor of Flagler Beach is. So
it's true.
It's and they don't even want to go over the bridge in the winter. But it's. But they get into and they get a little bit of power, and all of a sudden, it's like strapping a gun on your waist. Watch out for me. And don't do that. Just say what you mean and mean what you say and do it.
Definitely. Last question that I have, and this is off topic, but what do you think about the government saying that there's aliens?
I think it would be extremely narcissistic to say when you look out into space and see the billions of stars that are up there that there could not possibly be life on any other planet. And then you have, if they're actual, because again I don't trust government, the Tic Tac UFO videos that you see and all of that. But there's also so many reports by people who have nothing to gain by it that I will say. I believe that there are unexplainable aerial phenomena. Whether they're aliens from another planet or us from the future or different dimension or
interdimensional.
Yeah, or any of that stuff, who knows? But there's something. There's something going on.
These sightings. Is it possible that these are preemptively planned so we can get into an Afghanistan, Ukraine situation with the aliens?
I'll tell you what my wife says. Now, my wife grew up, this would be, you should get her on. She grew up in East Germany behind the wall.
Oh, wow.
She was under the communist side. Her brother was captured trying to escape and a bunch of stuff like that. I mean, story she has is amazing. She says that she thinks, because it's all over the TV now, you start to see all these shows about it and everything. She thinks that they're preparing us, but to be able to use it as a lockdown procedure. Alien, you got to stay in your house while the aliens are here. We got to fix this out.
Don't get abducted.
Because because the whole lockdown thing is a power trip. And once they have you locked down, they control your food, they control your travel, they control everything. And they did that with the experiment of the pandemic lockdown that they did. They control you can't go to work, you can't go to church, you can't do any of this stuff. The fact that people fell for that, COVID or not, COVID deadly or not, that was extreme.
And I think we're lucky too that we, being in Florida, we didn't even really experience it nearly as much as every other state.
And I'll give DeSantis kudos on that for not locking us in the house always.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Flagler Beach locked down the beach. Well, I mean, that was just the stupidest thing ever. The most fresh air you can possibly find anywhere is blowing across the ocean.
Yeah.
But don't go near it. That stuff's bad for you.
Not for the first 2 weeks, that was cool. But after that, it was, because remember the whole first 2 weeks lower the curve.
Yeah.
And that made sense the first 2 weeks. Then it was just like, hey, we can do something here. And
I can tell you that, I have a boat, and I'm fortunate enough that it's docked in my backyard because I live in the C-section in Palm Coast. And you go out on the boat, and I mean, the canals have boats, the intercoastal's full of boats. But during the pandemic, I went out on my boat. I'd go anywhere, man. There was nobody out there. I had free reign anywhere I wanted to go. It was crazy. I think if you just get on your boat, get out and get the fresh air. I did catch COVID 2 years ago, and I was running for mayor, and I was shaking 50,000 hands at the time. I don't know where I caught it from, but I did catch it. I was down it knocked me out for 3 days. I didn't have any headaches and stuff like that, but I got home one night. Yeah, it was about 9:00 at night, and I said, "Oh man, I'm just beat." I woke up 3 days later.
Wow.
And but I lost my sense of taste and smell, and I only have about 10% of it back. So my wife cooks really well.
Wow.
yeah, I got the COVID. I worked outside for a few days, sweated a lot, got plenty of sun. It was in like August. Shook it.
Yeah, I did too.
My mom just had it like 2 weeks ago.
I mean, it did. Some people, like were riding motorcycles and they died from COVID, but after they wrecked.
Yeah.
But, it was, whatever.
Yeah, it's all part of like why people don't trust them. Like you can only do
Exactly.
it so many times, and like they act like there's no memory anymore. Like upper politicians and stuff like that. It's like,
Yeah.
man, there's an internet, right? And we saw you.
It's all there.
We saw you 5 years ago saying the exact opposite that you're saying now.
Yeah,
and they're like, oh no, I never said that.
Yeah, it's all there, and it is. That's why and that's the problem that when you're in power and you start to lose power, you start to panic about losing power, and you push harder. And I sadly think that's the direction we're heading.
I agree.
Awesome, man. Well, I definitely appreciate you coming through.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it was
Definitely.
definitely
I'll
fun.
come back anytime you guys want. This is cool.
I appreciate that. Definitely will. And especially like as the elections get closer, maybe we could talk about what's going on
Sure.
out there and stuff like that.
I'd
But,
like to get on the beginning of the podcast. You said if you can get who'd you say on at the same time, the mayor or whatever.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, that guy that does the blog.
Oh yeah. I hate that guy. I always talk about that guy.
Well, we're gonna try to. We're trying to. I've asked him a couple times and stuff. We'll see what's going on. But everybody, if you could please like this, share this, follow Mr. Lowe. Do you want to tell them where they can follow you at if you have?
Yeah, well, I'm Alan Lowe on Facebook, but I also have started a new Facebook page,
Okay.
Palm Coast Loudmouth Minority.
Nice.
And what I want to do is, with that group, I want to get people together and then begin to educate, and then we can take these issues that are negative to Palm Coast, and as a group, go to City Hall during City Council meetings, and civilly, have 200 people come up to the podium, make that meeting 10 hours long before they get started. So they have to listen,
I hear that. All right. And this is Flagler Weekly. We put weekly content out. Thank you guys. Please, subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And, we'll be back next week with more content. We appreciate you guys.
All right, see you guys.